Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hey, horror freaks. Welcome back to ScreamCity. I'm Monica.
And I'm Jessica. And today we're talking all about Sinister. So make sure to sleep with the nightlight on tonight because things are about to get real spooky and ominous. By the way, do you sleep with the nightlight on, Monica?
I don't. I used to. I now just use my phone or a TV to help me sleep in the dark because I feel very uncomfortable to sleep in the dark.
Okay. I love sleeping in the dark.
I can.
If there's like a flash of light, I will literally like
go ape.
Go crazy. And I don't know. I like sleeping in the dark.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the dark is a vibe, but not when I'm by myself. If I'm alone in the dark, that's when I can't sleep because it feels uncomfortable to me. But if I'm like having a sleepover with someone or anyone else is in the general vicinity, then I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can sleep in the dark. It's fine. Sinister's a little crazy. I appreciate this film. And I think it has all of the cool things that someone wants in a horror film because it has like the eeriness, the jump scares, it has gore,
yes.
Paranormal ? Kind of, because I don't know, but whatever. Some may disagree and say that this is a bad movie, but it doesn't matter because they're not on this podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
It has a paranormal feel to it,
right?
For sure, because I think since Bagul isn't a ghost, he's more of an entity or deity. Yeah. It's considered more of a supernatural film, but before we dive into this crazy movie, let's get some life things out of the way first. Monica, what have you been up to this past week?
Honestly, not much. I've done my first week. My first week is done. The only side part that happened is that I got bit at work. Yeah, by a cat. But all good. I went to urgent care, got some antibiotics. It got really swollen and pretty nasty the first day to where I couldn't even move it. And today, Jessica's looking at my thumb right now because I'm moving it. It's a little better. So I'm just going to finish my antibiotics and go on about my day.
Nice.
Or my life,
I'm glad you're
you're
better.
But, well, we're good. We're good. But other than that, not really. Both Jessica and I went to go watch Barbarian over the weekend. We watched it at different days and we went with different people, but we both ended up watching it. So that was
it was a movie.
It was a movie. Yes, ma'am.
Nothing too crazy on my part. I went to my citizenship oath ceremony yesterday.
Yay.
So officially I'm an American now.
Hey.
But you
feel any different?
I don't feel. My sister asked me, she was like, so how do you feel? And I was like, well, no, it was my mom. And I was like, the same. I'm like,
all right, let's go ahead and just talk about this film real quick. I want to start out by saying, in the last episode, I had mentioned that I enjoy this film, but that I didn't find it scary. And then I recently rewatched it, and I was a little wrong. I ended up having that feeling of like I don't want to sit in the dark after watching this movie, so I had to play like little video game cartoons to kind of help me get over that. And like the thing is, which we're gonna get into it a little bit more, but I did feel a little eerie afterwards, so it was pretty scary for me.
I appreciate you being honest about that.
Thank you,
because
that was really strong of me to open up about that.
For real. No, seriously. Because I feel like, and I'm not saying you did it, but I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, this movie didn't scare me.
Try to downplay it.
And I'm like,
well, because I only said that because I this is one of those movies that I'm like, Sinister's a good movie for me. And then I rewatched it, and then, I mean, with time, people change, opinions change, and things like that. And so I think that's what kind of happened with me with this movie. I still like this movie. I think this is definitely a movie people should still watch. Yeah. I now think it's the opposite for me, which I'll kind of get into it later. But, yeah, it was scary, nonetheless, for me. So
I think Sinister will, for me at least, and maybe other people, will be one of those movies that you can watch, forever.
Yeah.
And still not be able to, go to sleep peacefully at night.
Right.
There's a few movies that are, like, a few horror movies that I'll watch and I'm like, oh, like, I can go to sleep.
Right.
Like, off topic. For example, Hell House.
The
first time I watched it,
Jessica had a really hard time.
I had a really bad night. It was really bad. And then the second time I watched it, when I showed it to y'all, I was like, which I don't remember if it was you or Melody or Gina actually, like, 2 days later after watching it, were like, oh, I actually had a bad dream or something.
I think it was, I don't remember. I feel like it was either me or Melody. It's one of those. That's how I know that I end up liking a movie. How I'm like, my initial thought would be like, oh, that's a good movie. And then later on, I'm like, okay, I'm a little, I kind of saw that.
I love those type of movies.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then I think what I like too is like the soundtrack.
Yes.
Like to this movie.
100%. And Christopher Young did an
Christopher
amazing
Young
job.
did a really good job, with the soundtrack. I think that's like another one of the things that I appreciate about this film is just like the background music. The background music and noises in this film remind me a little bit of like The Conjuring and Annabelle and like things like that. It's like a high pitch, like
just like
noise,
unsettling, uncomfortable.
I can't explain it, but it reminds me a little bit of The Conjuring. That's all I can say, or like Insidious. Yeah, and Christopher Young, I was actually just looking into this. He also did music for Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser. I literally just The Grudge too. Yeah. So a couple of good ones. Yeah. I like Christopher Young. You're a neat guy. I like your music taste. I remember watching this movie for the first time. I remember walking into my sister, watching it in her room. Oh, okay, yeah. And because she likes to watch movies in her room. And I walk in, and there's like this absurd scene just like playing, and I had never fled a room faster in my life. It was absolutely scary. So after that was my first like actual impression of Sinister. I was like, I'm never watching this, and then I eventually watched it. And I can't say when I watched this for the first time if it was memorable or not. I don't remember. I just remember watching it like multiple times with like different friends. So that's kind of the only thing. And I remember being creeped out about it, but nothing like I remember the exact moment of when it first happened for me. Yeah. It didn't stay with me. I have a couple of films like that, but I think a majority of the films that we end up talking about, I'll probably be like, I don't remember it. So kind of sucks, but I don't know. But in this film, there are some pretty gruesome deaths. Yes, and that's what I love. Me too. I'm a gore whore. Yeah, same. So now we can go ahead and start talking about what your favorite kill is and what your favorite scene is. So you go first, Monica. Okay. Well, okay, so there's a lot to unpack about this movie. I really loved a lot of the scenes. So we're going to start off with, I guess, my favorite one. So all of the scenes where basically Ellison is watching all of the tapes where the families are getting murdered. I think I just love the creativity of each of them as well. So like in each way that the different ways that the families are being killed. And I love the setup of just the entire thing. Like when he's watching them, he sits down, he kind of has to prepare himself, and he's like, all right, here we go again. Like that's what I liked seeing. And we do get a little bit of everything too with each kill. We get, being hung, we get drowning, we get fire, throat slitting, a fucking lawnmower, which and then lastly, chopping of the bodies at the end of the movie. So I don't know, I also read somewhere that they were going to include a death where a family is going to get killed like during Christmas, but they ended up cutting it out for like budget reasons, which I think would have been cool to see, but meh, I don't know. But I don't know, a lot of these scenes did make me jump and feel scared, but there was something about watching each of these deaths that just made me feel worse, and which is what I appreciated of the film, that made me feel the horror part of like a movie, Right. And I also just love like the found footage vibes. I think that type of film is what makes me like feel a little more eerie and like scared out of the rest of the film. I feel like a lot of people think of Sinister as just jump scares, and again, it does. Like it has quite a couple, which, by the way, those jump scares do get me. Yeah, same. But I feel like a lot of people just associate Sinister with jump scares, but don't really take the time to appreciate everything else going on. I think it just goes straight into slamming it's a bunch of jump scares, blah, blah. I had read a review somewhere saying that, like, they just use the cheesy jump scares to try and consider it like a horror film, and it's like that. Which I get, some people don't like jump scares. I feel like it's also hard to consider everyone's opinion when it comes to anything in general, especially with like horror movies, because what's going to get one person is not going to get someone else. So, for the amount of people that watch this film and they're like, it's not good. And I'm like, I can see why.
Right.
I have my reasons why, what I don't like about this film. But the horror part of this film is not why I don't like it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I like the horror element of this part. Like, I love everything that they do to make you feel eerie,
Same.
scared, gory. Like, that's the part that I like about this film. And I guess going on with that, kind of getting out of the way, my favorite, like, death, like family death. So I'm going to go with the throat slitting of the Millers, mostly because of two things. So the scene and the lawnmower scene are like one of the actual scenes that made me feel some type of way. I was like, ooh, I don't want to. Ooh, that's scary. And we get to see Bagul be a decent entity, deity, whatever he is. The little barking chihuahua, he let him live. Or at least that's what I'm going with, because we don't see him actually kill him. Or not even him, the children, the child, whatever. Which, did you know? The barking chihuahua in that movie has actually been in other films.
You're lying.
He's
been in more roles than me.
Right, exactly. I was dying because I was looking at the cast list for it, and then it said barking dog. And they showed up, the screenshot of his picture was from the little shot that he's in where he's like in the murder scene. And it's so funny because he was in like movies Life is Rough and like Transformers, the first one.
Cute.
And I was like, okay, this dog has a whole career.
I hope he's still living his best life.
Right? I hope he's still out there somewhere. Maybe.
Listen, I want to get this out of the way before I forget to mention it.
Okay.
But I really, personally, I appreciated how this is sort of like a slow-paced movie. And I know a lot of people didn't like this film because it was so slow. Yeah. But I genuinely liked how it kept us on the edge of our seats. I think it was like the perfect amount of slow. Yeah. If you will.
Right.
Which helps build the tension and suspense in almost every scene, which I think is another great factor for a good horror movie.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I have a love-hate relationship with like slow pace, slow burn films and books in general. I think it depends on the storyline itself. Yeah. Because sometimes I don't want to watch a movie that gets straight into it. Right. And then we lose the storyline, and then kind of vice versa. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
My favorite, well, again, I have quite a few favorite scenes, but
yeah, there's a lot.
I think my favorite scene was when Ellison is on his computer, like watching the tapes, or
he's on his computer and then he's looking through records, and then he
turns around and fucking Bagul just pops up on his screen. I think that's my biggest jump scare.
Oh wait, we're talking about two different.
Are we talking about two different scenes?
I think we're talking about two different scenes. I'm talking about the one where he's looking at records, and then he was looking at the films. He was looking at what he was recording on his phone on his computer, and Bagul, he paused it on Bagul's face, and then while he's looking through the records, Ellison doesn't see it, but we as an audience can see him turning. That's the scene that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the scene I was talking about too.
But it's not
a pop up, but
like where he moves.
The way he moves is kind of like a jump scare.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my favorite family kill, I'll have to go with the Stevenson family getting hung by a tree. It's the first one we see, but I think it's just a classic. Yeah. And I was telling Monica, I was like, it feels the most natural. Okay. I don't know why. I think it's
I see what you mean.
It's the most like simple one.
Yeah.
But
it's still scary.
Yeah. Like she didn't do too much to like the lawnmower and everything else. Like that's very creative.
Really creative. Yeah.
I'm a simple gal. So
I'm simple.
I think just the
bag over the head,
hanging,
tie some rope. Yeah. Let's go.
Fun fact. So C. Robert Cargill, which I think helped in this movie. He got inspiration to do this scene after a nightmare he had after watching The Ring, where he found footage in an attic with that exact same scene. So
The Ring is scary.
It is.
The Ring is very scary. I like The Ring. It's scary though. I'm laughing because I was reading that. So the kids in the film, the ones that Bagul takes, the ghost kids. On set, they had said that they would kind of have conversations with each other, and the adults would be listening. And one of the conversations that they would have is like, so how do you kill your family? And then like And then, like, another one's being like, ooh, cool, well, this is how mine die.
Love that.
And then, like, they had also mentioned that at the end of filming, like, on the last day, that they had all cried because they had, like, a lot of fun.
Aww.
Which I love seeing. Especially, like, when kids are involved in, like, such a... Like, and it goes for horror films especially, but, like, when you have to film, like, a really hard scene and, like, drama scenes, or, like, when kids are involved and you really have to take into consideration that they're still growing humans, so you have to really take care of, like, their mental, like, you know, their mental emotions and everything. So it's good to know that, you know, these movies are like, hey, I promise you're okay. This is all fake.
I think I've mentioned this before, but when I was younger, and honestly, I still do it now.
Okay.
But when I was younger, and I would watch, like, horror movies with my sister, I would get really freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
And I would, like, I don't want to say this, but it kind of happened during Barbarian.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you
Well,
afterwards.
Barbarian, I can see how it can be a little psychological.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you which scene afterwards. But
okay.
You know, especially when I was younger, I would see, like, I would watch a scene and I would just get so freaked out, and I would tell my sister, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that, I can't do it. And my sister would just look at me and be like, it's just a movie, calm down, like, you're here with me, like, we're in a movie theater or whatever.
It's important.
Actually haven't really thought about that, like, how
how
child
kids kind
actors,
of take these things in. I don't know how it kind of went on in, like, the back in the days, like in the 70s and the 60s, or, you know, whenever they made these films. Like, I don't know how well, because there's a whole different horror stories behind a lot of horror movies of, like, those old films. But yeah, like, the other, like, I'm pretty sure you saw it, but there's a TikTok of, like, Ethan Hawke filming that one scene with Mason from Black Phone.
Yes.
And he's like, they're recording the scene where he's kidnapping him with the balloons, and then they yell cut, and then Ethan Hawke's like, hey, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, see,
I saw that TikTok.
And then Bill Skarsgård did a lot of that during It, whenever they filmed whenever they were filming, you know, with the It kids, that Bill Skarsgård had said, like, that Jack Dylan Gracer's, like, acting was so good, and he was, like, crying that, like, when they finished filming the scene, he's like, are you okay? Like, I didn't mean to scare you. He goes, no, dude, like, he's like, no, you're so cool.
Great.
So I think it's kind of good to see that, like, what is it, like, Hollywood, quote unquote, can be really scary in general with, like, real life, and so having to film something a little dark and ominous can also feel very, you know,
especially, I think, when it comes to, like, death, not just death,
but
especially this movie where you have to act like you're literally murdering your family.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how do you get that? So it's good that, you know, they were able to kind of do some light on those conversations and be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. They were able to find some sort of humor in it.
Yeah, exactly.
And bond over it.
I wonder how many of those kids are still friends.
Yeah.
So,
a little more about Bagul.
Love Boogie.
And his 6 foot.
And his 6 foot fine self.
Yeah.
Love me some 6 foot emo loving self.
Yes, ma'am.
Righteousness.
Love that. He's an ain't from my research. I'm a little Ellison right here.
Okay. Love.
He's an ancient Babylonian pagan deity who consumes the souls of human children. We know this.
Right.
He possesses a realm of his own and can travel into the mortal world via images of himself. Love that. Must be nice. Bagul is he's not a deity taken from any real world belief system, which I think we know that. He's very fictional.
I was going to say he's fake, but
he's, however, provided with a backstory that makes him the brother, and I might butcher this, of Moloch, who is a pagan deity practiced or worshipped near cultures in North Africa, and which Bagul's fictional backstory makes me question whether or not there really is a sort of ancient deity that lurks amongst us and silently targets families.
I feel like it's one of those things that it's either you believe in them or you don't until you actually have, like, actual proof. There's a lot of people that are like, I don't believe in anything until I have, like, actual proof, which is I guess it's cool that they actually took their time to kind of be like, okay, Bagul is going to be something that
Based off,
that's going to be based
he's
off
fiction.
of something
We know
that's
he's fictional, but
real.
let's give him some sort of,
I love that for him.
Yeah,
love that.
him.
He's like, I am not just my character.
Right.
I come from somewhere.
Yeah.
I love that.
I am someone.
I am someone. I'm not just someone who takes children, guys.
Yeah. I'm more than that.
I have a whole personality. Also, watching this, I had completely forgotten that James Ranson is in this movie.
Yeah.
Which I love. But I also love how in this film he plays the deputy who is obsessed with crime and like wants to help figure and solve everything.
I love that.
Which is how his character in this film is pretty much the same in Black Phone, which Ethan Hawke is also in. And I love seeing like actors and actresses like reunite in movies that I'm like, oh, I've seen them in this, or I've saw, and it's like really good to connect some dots.
I love Deputy So-and-so. He is
Deputy
so
So-and-so.
us.
That fucking killed me when he popped up on his phone. I was like, this man.
But he's so us because he's like, he likes crime, like he likes true crime and all of that.
Yeah.
And he really wants to help.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something we would do.
Oh, 100%. And it's so funny whenever Ethan Hawke's or Ellison was like, he was trying to explain to him once he started having encounters with Bagul, and he's like, but you don't believe in any of that stuff, right? Like the paranormal and like ghosts and stuff. And he goes, are you kidding me? I believe in all that shit. And I'm like, you can't, And I'm like, you can't just not.
But yeah, no, like you mentioned, I love to see like especially horror actors reunite, and
like,
yet another horror movie.
Yeah. But I've also realized that like watching Ethan Hawke and things, to me, he looks so different in everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've seen him in quite a few things, but he always looks different. I don't know, because I was watching this and I was like, there's no way that this is the same man that I was watching in Black Phone.
Yeah.
I mean, given in Black Phone he was wearing kind of a mask and you see his bare face for like a good 3 seconds, which is fine. But even then I was like, no way. I don't know. I love that.
I think he just plays his character so well, and he takes the time to study them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which I think helps a lot when you're an actor, just to study your character.
True.
And he did a great job on The Purge.
I think so too. Yeah.
And at this point, this man is a horror icon.
A horror icon, yeah. He's been in a lot of horror stuff, mostly.
He sure
that I've
has.
seen him in, yeah.
Yeah.
He was in a movie with Selena Gomez that I'm sorry, but the movie's awful. Awful. It's called Runaway. It's awful. Terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's awful. Oh, okay. So I wanted to mention the scene. So, okay, you know the scene where Ellison wakes up and I forgot what he wakes up to, but he's going down the hallway and then he sees a moving box and then he sees his son fucking crawl out from it like backwards.
Yeah.
And then he's just like yelling and having a night terror. And that scene is also one of the scenes that wasn't really like, it wasn't necessarily a jump scare. It wasn't like it wasn't someone being murdered or anything. It was just the way that it was filmed and the way that boy was like coming out of the box. That scared the fuck out of me. And then again, we see him have another one where he's like peeking out of a bush. That also terrified me.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that I liked about it. I liked how unsettling it was with these little scenes that they showed.
It doesn't have to be, and it is to me, but it doesn't, like, a movie doesn't have to be like terrifying in order for me to really like it.
Enjoy it as a film.
As long as I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, not like uncomfortable in like a bad way, but like unsettling and all of that. Then it's a good movie.
Then it did the job for you.
Now, listen. I don't like kids to begin with.
Yeah.
And when I say kids, I mean like ages 5 to 11, because I think they're at their most annoying.
Yeah, because I know I was.
But the fact that a movie can turn these quote unquote innocent kids into these cruel, psycho-killing monsters and make them do unimaginable things to their family is just insane.
Just night terrors in general, though, like, those sound terrifying.
Yeah.
They sound awful. I was looking into it, but the director, Scott Derrickson, actually got the idea from his real life. So he had mentioned that his own son had night terrors, and he had said that, he'll look at you and scream holy terror. And I'm sorry, but that sounds awful to witness. Like, if night terrors are really something like this, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
Because, like, the person who experiences them doesn't necessarily remember them. So they're going to wake up and be like, huh? And I'm like, you literally just yelled at me?
Yeah.
Like if you saw something in me. And I'm like, that sounds just so scary. I don't think my first instinct, if I saw someone having a night terror, would be to help them.
Right.
I think mine would be to run.
Run away.
Right. Then again,
Yeah.
I think something that I saw in a review once about this movie is that because the scenes that you see him comfort his son when he's having these night terrors, and I forgot this other scene that they had mentioned, but you kind of see like these glimpses of Ellison actually being an actual dad and how much he actually cares about his family. I think we kind of get like he's such a shitty dad, but it's like, like he's not.
I feel like you see more of a shitty dad than you see of a good dad in this film.
I guess so. And then I think because like his intention is like, I want to get big so that we don't have to struggle anymore.
Right.
But, you know, obviously his wife is like, now.
But I mean, listen, sir, if you can afford that house,
That's true.
then you ain't.
Oh, I mean, he got it for pretty much a steal because
That's
an
true.
entire family died in it. But along with that, like the jump scares in this movie are actually pretty good. Some I find it really cheesy because like people are always like, it was obvious. Like, yeah, they kind of were because it leads you up to it. That's kind of what a jump scare is, right? But I don't know. I thought they were good. Like the anticipation, but it's the sound that fucking gets me. It's the sound that makes me jump because it's
Seriously.
like they give you a jump scare and then it's like this loud like
And I hate that people hate that too.
Yeah.
People hate on everything.
Yeah.
But I love it. It
Jump
scares
scares,
me.
yeah.
Listen, if it scares me, I like it.
Yeah.
And it did its job.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if it was a jump scare. I don't care if it was a cheesy jump scare.
I love them.
If it made me jump,
Yeah.
then shit.
Yeah. I love it. I love jump scares.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a good one to be the judge on jump scares on like whether they were good or not because I am an easily spooked bitch. I spook very easily.
You know, whenever I go to haunted houses, like I appreciate
That's another
it.
reason why I hate haunted houses because I hate being spooked because I'm an easily spooked bitch. I scare easy. Like just walking in, I'm like, and then it's like nothing.
in a few episodes from now, our life the life things that we're going to talk to you guys about is going to be us
Going to
our
haunted
experience. Yes, because we're going to haunted houses, right, Monica?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, we are. Not yes, I guess. No, yes, we are.
Okay. Can we try baby ones first?
Yeah.
Take me to the little baby one.
Okay.
I did the ones from Six Flags last year. I think I can do those again.
Okay, well, great. So since you did them last year, we can skip those
No.
and we can go to Dark
No,
Hour.
I need to work up. You know how you when you were little and you would have to work yourself up to get on the big roller coasters and you have to start off with baby ones? That's what I need to do. I need to start off with baby haunted houses.
But you already did last year.
Yeah, but that was last year. That was a whole year ago. I need to start from the bottom again.
Sure.
She's not impressed.
No, not at all.
Not at all. But I guess like a couple of more scenes from this movie that we can kind of go into is
Another one of my favorite sort of scenes is, well, it's more like a kill, is the family that gets drowned in the pool. So, fun fact, there were divers under the water waiting for them to drown. So that they could...
Because I was gonna say like they were pretty strapped in there onto what is it, like poolside chairs. They were laying down.
But there were actual divers under the water to give them air once they
that's
like hit
good.
the water. And then you see Bagul.
Yeah,
in the
you
water.
see Bagul in the water. That's the first time that we see Bagul
Yeah.
too, like in the movie, and it's like a good like 30 minutes into the movie.
Again, like this movie in general is just a good one. I think I want to say it's a good one for like your first time watching a horror movie.
For a lot of different reasons. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can say, like, if you're wanting to get into paranormal, like,
Supernatural
entity,
sort of.
supernatural type of horror, I think this one's a good one to start with, for sure. Before we play the Would You Rather, let's go ahead and get out of the way, like, what we didn't like about the film. If you have anything, I know you really love this film from, like, beginning to end. For you, maybe your list is a little bit smaller than mine.
Yeah. So let me get another thing out of the way. It's really hard for me to hate movies. I mean, there are a lot of movies that I just in general don't like.
Yeah.
But when I find a movie that I really do like, it's hard for me to find something that I don't like.
Okay.
Just because I'm
Like,
I'm
because
a
you
bad
like
critique. Like I
bad critic.
Yeah. But one thing about the actual storyline itself is that I found it kind of selfish of Ellison to move his wife and kids into a house
Yeah.
where a family had just been slaughtered by like a
Literally.
9-year-old.
The way he played his wife.
Yeah, Like the second I would have found out my husband pulled that shit, I'm leaving with the kids.
Yeah.
And he can stay and have fun getting possessed because no man.
Because that's what happens.
And again, I understand that. I understand that he did it for like work and to get more, information about the kills and all of that.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was really stupid.
I feel like
move next door or something.
I was gonna say, I feel like his thought wasn't possession that was gonna happen.
Right.
His thought as a writer was like, I'm gonna literally be in the scene where the crime happened, so I'm gonna be able to get more evidence, and I'm gonna be able to get more this, that. Like, he looked like the type to be pretty practical and was like, there's no such thing as ghosts. He even said it. He was like, I don't believe in that. So his initial thought wasn't like, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna see if I catch some ghosts and things like that. So it's always the dads in all the paranormal movies that are like, or all the men in the paranormal movies that are like, this is fake. This is fake. There's no way that that's happening. None of that stuff is real until they encounter with it, and then they're like, oh,
Insidious.
I'm fucked. I don't know. Well, which me and Melody were watching this, and in it we were like, yeah, same. But also, you also married someone who's very fascinated with crime and is obsessed enough. Like, isn't that something you kind of take into consideration? Maybe not. Okay, it is a fucked up move that he didn't say anything, because he should have been like, hey, look, there's this house. There's a crime that happened in it. I want to make my book about it.
Move
house is
in
cheap.
by yourself. Like,
did I say movie? I meant to I want to write a book about it.
yeah.
But yeah, move in by yourself. Move me and the kids next door.
I was gonna say, don't move me and the kids in there. Like, the heck.
So yes, it was really wrong for him to lie. But so my conflicting feelings for this film are, I feel like there are many different ways. What I appreciate about this film, again, is the scares, the gore, and I think they did really well with the theme of horror, because I was actually like, oh my god, afterwards. However, I think this is one of the films that I found scary, but there's something about the plot that just kind of misses for me.
Okay.
And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is. I just think that I can also see what people don't like about this movie. Or maybe I don't know. Like, I find, like, the found footage, I like the jump scares. I think Bagul himself, I think, is scary.
He is a very scary
I was going
man.
to say, if I see him, like, trick-or-treating out in the middle of the night, I'll be like, I'm staying away. I'm staying on the other side of the sidewalk, okay?
Between him and Michael Myers, I'd rather be close to Michael Myers than Bagul.
Same.
Bagul, I'm running away.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm like, oh my god, let me take a selfie with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then he kills me.
I feel like, I think what about this film is that I could have done without the quote-unquote drama between him and his wife, and him not being the famous writer that he wanted to be. I don't know. I can't explain but I can't really explain it too much. I suck at explaining things for myself, but the movie plot isn't that great for me. And I think it sucks because I think this film had a lot of potential because of the backstory that they gave. And I like the fact that, like, it was someone who moved into the house, and because he moved into the house, he's, him and his family are now next to be killed and things like that. And, I don't know. I have conflicting feelings, but I really do think that the plot could have been better.
I feel that.
I just don't know in what way.
Okay.
Which I know it doesn't, give anything, because I'm like, which is why I hate, like, this film. I love the scary part of this film. It's just, I could have done without him.
Yeah.
I could have done without his background story.
I think that's my thing too. I think the struggling, like, writer, I like that part.
Yeah.
Because, it's
entertaining to see, and I can see that.
It's like a real life scenario. People, like, I guess the moral is, how far would you go in order to, save your job,
right,
or to help out your family,
right?
And I feel like it goes for a lot of other movies too. Like, how far would you go to save this and do that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what I'm kind of thinking of is I don't want to compare it to The Conjuring because they're two different movies. But I think what The Conjuring is and why people liked it so much is because you don't really get an entire background story of this family. Like, you literally get a little bit of a background from, like, the lady, the demonic possession, the lady, the wife who lived there,
mm-hmm.
and how the demon is trying to possess the mother and trying to kill her children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get that, and so we understand it, and so now we're like, okay, this is what this is. Now the demon, we know the demon's after the mom, and so this movie's also scary from beginning to end. Like, and it's a pretty long movie, and we don't really have moments where there's drama between family. There's like, between family members being like, I don't want to be here, and like this and this and that, and like whatever. There's moments where the doubt is doubtful, but you don't
mm-hmm.
see that because he just mentions it, and so I feel like those are the parts in this movie that I feel like I could have done without. I could have done without the drama part.
Do you think you like The Conjuring more because it gets straight to the action?
Probably. I mean, because the beginning of the movie is them moving into the house.
Yeah.
And then literally, like, 2-3 scenes later, they're playing hide and clap,
mm-hmm.
and then they find the basement.
Yeah.
Or whatever part. And then that's just kind of when shit starts going crazy. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's just my ADHD that didn't appreciate the slower part of the films, but the plot could have been better for me.
Yeah.
But
again, I feel like
from someone from like you who actually likes it, then I'm like, okay.
I feel like, no, I like the storyline. I agree that there are some moments that were like, we didn't really need to see that,
Right.
Instead of this scene, we could have had a little bit more jump scare, whatever.
Yeah,
doesn't
or like
matter.
some type of, or just cut it completely
or a little bit more history towards
Bagul. Yeah, something
Yeah.
something to kind of show that. I think that's maybe another reason why people had trouble with this is that they don't really know what Bagul is. Like, they just kind of have to find their own interpretation
mm-hmm.
of being like, oh, he's like a demon.
Because they kind of go over it in the movie
at the end, like whenever he's talking to the occultist.
That
if
guy.
That's even a name.
Yeah, they kind of do talk about Bagul for a brief second, which I appreciated. Again, I think it just depends on the storyline and whether or not it was good to have it slow paced or if it should have been a little bit more action.
Right. Yeah, and so that's just kind of where I was like, yeah. I liked this as a horror film. I didn't like it as an overall, which Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 63%, which I don't think that's bad. Which I don't like going based off of Rotten Tomatoes or like critics ratings because they're never accurate.
Right.
Or at least to someone, right? But I thought that was pretty decent. I feel like if you get like anything less than like a 50 for a movie from Rotten Tomatoes, I think then you'll be like, okay, it might be a bad movie, which I don't think that's right. But I think anything above that, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, because you can see what this film did do well in,
right.
But then there's other parts where they just kind of failed at. So, I don't know. It's a whole different thing. But anyway,
let's do the
Would You Rather.
Would You Rather.
The
okay.
Would You Rather. Let's go ahead and do that.
So Monica and I struggled a little bit with this Would You Rather because we kind of went back and forth. We were like, what should this Would You Rather be? So we came up with something. Hopefully you guys...
let us know what
hopefully you guys understand it and like it.
Yeah.
So with the theme of this film, okay, would you rather be in Allison's shoes and watch all of these horrifying films and found films and all that, knowing your family is next, or just accept your fate and be able to choose how you're gonna die? Like, Bagul just, like, comes up to you and gives you options in a catalog. And it's like, listen, this one's my favorite.
This one's a classic.
This one's a classic. It's
I like
an oldie
this
but a
one.
goodie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So either way, you're fucked. Because
Either
you're
way,
dying.
yeah.
You're dying.
You're
both
dying.
scenarios.
Period.
Yeah, period.
I think I would accept my fate and choose how I'm going to die.
I was going to say, I think I would also choose how I'd want to die. I don't know if I would want to look at someone else's deaths because then I'd compare myself. Because I do that every day. I compare myself. I have insecurities. And so I compare myself to people every day. So imagine having to compare my own death to someone else's.
Yeah.
I'm like, mine wasn't that cool.
Right.
You're just going to you're just gonna smother me with a pillow?
Like, oh,
That's it?
Like, let me choose how I'm gonna die.
Like, let me choose.
Like, let me get
Tie
creative.
me to an oak tree.
Yeah.
And hit me with the chainsaw.
Right.
Me and my family.
Right.
You know,
Because
get creative with me.
I feel like if you know that your family's next, but you don't know how or when, which, you know, if you don't know how or when, it's like, how do you know what to prepare for?
Okay, yeah.
If you know how you're going to die,
then at least you're like, okay, this
you know
is
what
it.
I mean? You know,
It's our time to shine.
What am I going to wear?
What am I going to wear when they find me?
Right.
Is there going to be, is there
going to be a hot paramedic?
Yeah, like
You know
someone,
what I mean?
you know, like who's going to be there?
Yeah.
And I want to know.
I
And
wanna
then,
look good.
on top of that, like I would be able to choose what I want to be buried in or cremated in.
Yeah.
Like I want people to see me and be like, oh my gosh, she slayed until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that.
Yeah, I think I would rather choose how.
Okay.
I'd want him to go through a catalog and be like,
A
okay,
little
look,
catalog.
this is our starting rate. It starts off at $39.99.
Okay.
And you know, you get all these options, and then if you want our premiere package, then you know, and then he goes into details, and I think I would like that. Watching someone else's deaths, I feel like in real life would be too gruesome for me. Like even sometimes now watching documentaries, I get a little sensitive about it now, which has only happened recently. And it's crazy because I used to be able to binge watch documentary after documentary about true crime.
Shit.
Until I started having nightmares about them.
Back in junior high and high school,
Mm-hmm.
you remember those freaking... I don't even know where I would find them. Or where, like, my classmates would find them. But it's, like, cartels.
Oh yeah,
my
the
God,
videos.
I hated those videos.
I'm telling you, like real life gruesome stuff, I don't think I could handle.
Right.
So having to watch that and then knowing you're next and then you're like, how?
Yeah.
You know, I'd be like, I can't.
I'd rather just choose.
Just let me choose.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk my family into it.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, listen.
This is the best deal I could get.
This is the best deal money could buy.
Yeah.
So this is what we're going with.
And Bagul gave me a bonus because he likes animals, and our bonus is that he doesn't kill our pets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I have 3 cats.
Yeah.
So thank you. You know what I would do? I would be cremated, be put in a little like crystal jar or something,
Okay.
attach it to a collar, and make them wear it. That way they carry me everywhere with
That
them.
is so cute.
Right?
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open an Etsy shop.
Cool. With little collar crystal
Yeah,
jars.
with like
I
owner
love
human
that.
remains. Imagine.
That
Oh
is
my
so
God.
cute.
So we're gonna post a poll about this one. And then you guys let us know what you guys would choose, which I don't know, maybe there's some of you that would actually want to know how previous families dies. Now, not saying that, you know, the deaths that you get to see in these clips, if you do personally get to choose this, not saying that they're going to be the exact same deaths that are in the movie. They could be different.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just saying, like, would you rather watch them and know you're next and not know how, or, you know, choose. And the book will give you, be like, yeah. This is how you die. So before we go, we are going to rate this film. Again, we have 2 scales for horror films. We have a scary scale and a satisfactory scale. Just because the film is good doesn't mean it's scary, and vice versa. So,
Okay.
vice versa.
Vice versa. Alrighty.
Jess, you go first.
Again, this is a bone-chilling movie, okay?
A bone-chilling movie.
Bone-chilling movie. Therefore, for scary scale, I have to give it an 8 out of 10. Because I'm a human! And the jump scares got to me, okay?
Same, yeah.
What else do you want from me?
Yeah.
What more do you expect? I love a good jump scare. So, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 because the suspense was there. It was built up, and I appreciated that. Satisfactory scale, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because 1, how dare they scare me so much that I couldn't sleep for days? And 2, I do feel like there were a few things that were left out that were
Which is
unexplained.
kind of what we were talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit.
Mhm.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
about
For my scary scale, I think I'm going to rate it a solid 8 out of 10 for the same. Obvi, I was pretty scared, and I like the jump scares, and I like the overall eeriness of this film. They did horror really well in this film. But for my satisfactory scale, I don't know. I think I'm going to give it like a good 5 out of 9. Again, I was entertained by the movie. It did what it had to do. It was just the plot. I just wasn't a fan of the plot. I think they could have done a little bit better. But that doesn't knock it down for me. I think it's overall good.
I feel that.
So, yeah. Imagine, I'm sure there's been some, but a Sinister haunted house.
Ooh.
Where Boogie chases you at
Girl,
the end.
no.
You wouldn't get out. You would literally stay.
I would, no. No, I would fucking run.
Yeah, you wouldn't even go in.
I would not even go in. Would you?
A Sinister?
Girl, you could even go into...
Imagine, like, if the inside of the haunted house was, like, the inside of the house.
Yeah.
And then, like, each time that you go into a different room, like, it's, like, each family getting killed.
Yeah.
And it's, like, a different kid, and then, like, it's different kill from the family. And then, like, at some point, you just notice Bagul's been following you the entire time. And then, obviously, there's, like, pop-up scares, like, where Bagul's just...
A bunch of Baguls.
A bunch of Baguls. Anyway, moving on. Well, I love that.
Guys,
That's just thought.
I think we're getting to the end of the episode.
Sure.
Again, we can't thank you guys enough for listening to our podcast. We
talk a lot.
We do talk a lot.
Especially about movies. So, and you can tell how passionate or unpassionate we are about certain films.
Hopefully in the near future, y'all will be able to do a video recording of these, because y'all literally need to see what goes on.
That's true. You should see our faces, our reactions to a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll happen at some point.
Don't forget to follow us on social media, including Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, which are all at ScreamCity Podcast, with the exception of Twitter being ScreamCity Pod.
Because they are character phobic.
P-O-D.
And they only let us choose so many letters. But yeah, okay. So, if you liked today's episode, please stay tuned for next week's episode, which is about, drumroll please, scary stories to tell in the dark.
Woo!
Woo. Okay, so an idea that we've kind of been sitting on is, so for the month of October, we will be covering horror movies that specifically take place during or on Halloween. And we just thought that this movie was a perfect one to start off the month with, because, I don't know, I think it's an overall good movie. Yeah. It's not overly scary, but I just think overall it comes from, like, a children's, I feel like it's like the young adult version of Goosebumps. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes it good. And then maybe we'll have something similar for around the Christmas time. Yeah. You know, horror movies that take place in, like, during Christmas, which I feel like there are quite a few.
Quite a few.
Yeah, so we might do that for that, but we'll see. But as always, we have been your hosts, Monica.
And Jessica.
And stay safe and stay spooky.
Oh, okay.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.